For more reaction on the ruling, we're now joined by Public Interest SA founder, Tebogo Khaas. And Dr. Khaas, thank you so much for your time and for joining us this evening. So a retrial of the Nulane case. What's your organization's reaction to the SCA's ruling?
Yeah, no, certainly, Katleho, we share in the sentiments as expressed by NPA spokesperson Tunze Maga, that it is a confidence booster to the prosecuting authority, that they'll have a go at the case. But let us not rush to concluding that it is indeed all systems go, because as we well know, these individuals may very well take it to the apex court. I'm not sure if it is an appealable matter, but if to the extent that it is a Supreme Court that has made that pronouncement, it seems to be that there is an avenue that they may still go to the higher court, which is the Constitutional Court, to challenge this if they so seek. And we know that recently the NPA has admitted that these individuals have got resources to take matters to litigate to head to the high heavens if they need be. So let us not rush to celebrate outwon Tunze Maga. And let us keep our heads down. The NPA must keep their heads down. And let us not celebrate yet, because otherwise we may just as well find out the NPA again with egg on their face. And we certainly do hope that should the matter go ahead and for a retrial, that all the ducks are in a row, because it does not necessarily mean that everything is in order insofar as the prosecution is concerned. We have been through this road many times before.
Surely. I mean, you speak about the NPA having their ducks all in a row, and maybe let's just unpack some of the findings from the SCA with regards to the Free State High Court in Bloemfontein and the acting judge being Nompumelelo Gusha, just saying that her findings were disturbing, that the state was clumsy in handling of the documentary evidence, and that has then resulted in this case being a stillborn. I think the SCA just also speaks about the multiple legal errors that were made by the judge. What do you make of all of this?
Yeah, from what it appears, it points to a need by the judicial, the head of courts themselves, who appoint judges, in this instance an acting judge, to ensure that they are more discerning and act with a lot of discretion and judicial discretion when making appointments. Because if to appoint an acting judge in a matter as significant as the Nulane case is, which is basically a bellwether for most of the state capture cases anyway, was a bit rather unfortunate. We do hope, as it has been directed, that the same judge not hear the matter, that a competent, experienced judge would be appointed to oversee the matter when it goes back to trial. And we are hopeful, really, unless the ANC thinks civil society is out there to do gotcha statements. No, we're not. We're pained when we see matters not being prosecuted satisfactorily or satisfactory, or there are no positive outcomes, because it takes a lot of time, resources, and emotions, even for those affected by those. I mean, we are here talking about a judgment by the SCA. We're not talking about the farmers who were involved. We're not talking about those who were let down by the Free State Department of Agriculture or whatever department was involved in actually making promises that were never kept. We've got people who are still who are left penniless because of this project, and this is not a victimless crime. And so we are behind the NPA and the judicial system. We hope that they will get their act together and make sure that this matter is fully investigated and litigated before courts.
I mean, we'll come to the impact and just the public trust around such cases that are handled in the way that they are. But just going back to the NPA spokesperson saying that they're not oblivious to the attack and the assault on the entire administration of justice. Do you think there is an attack on the justice system, or do you think there is a lack of other be it skills or intention from the justice system?
In regards to this case, I'm not sure if there's an attack on the entire justice system, because the justice system constitutes of the police, the judiciary as well as the prosecuting authority, as far as I'm aware. And there hasn't been, a wanton attack on the policing insofar as investigating this matter is concerned. It might very well be that he might be inclined to think that the public would be criticizing the judiciary because of the finding against an acting judge. But that is not the case, because the judiciary has self-corrected itself by making sure that they reserve a decision which they believe, at least as far as the Supreme Court is concerned, they believe that the decision didn't warrant the case being dismissed. And certainly, as for the NPA, they deserve every criticism they get. I mean, no fingers were pointed at the NPA in this instance, but certainly it doesn't give them a get out of jail card to now misprosecute another important matter. As I said, this is a bellwether case, and so I know that Mthunzi might be looking for any morsel of comfort or succor, but certainly this is not the time to be saying that the judiciary is under attack. The judiciary has not been under attack insofar, or the criminal justice system has not been under attack in this instance. It was the spotlight shown on the NPA and an important case, which is a precursor to most of the state capture matters.
You spoke about this not being a victimless case, and that so many had been impacted either on promises or on possible work as farmers, and the possibility of their businesses growing from some of these funds that could have assisted their businesses. What does this do for public trust when the SCA would give such a judgment for there to be a retrial in a case such as this?
I'll have to juxtapose it with the ensuing discussion around the national dialogue. We're busy going to be doing another dialogue, yet we are not going to put energies to intervene on matters that affect society practically today as we speak. And in this instance, talking about economic development, where the livelihoods of families, farmers, individuals, entrepreneurs, emerging farmers have been affected severely. And there is no urgency, at least not by the state, at least demonstrated, to try and mitigate the kind of impact this project itself, or the failure of this Nulane project, has had on the communities that are affected. And we while we welcome any efforts to a discussion through the national dialogue and all that, we need practical solutions. We need to make sure that there's effectiveness in implementing the rule of law. You don't need a dialogue for that. You need to make sure that cases are investigated properly, they're prosecuted properly, and then if you do your homework, the judgment will follow. But in this instance, it is all hollow victory insofar as the NPA is concerned, and they should really spare the public this chest beating when out of nothing.
And I mean, we saw that the Dubai Appeal Court had refused initially to extradite both Atul and Rajesh Gupta from the UAE. Do you now feel that the NPA really has its work cut out for them in ensuring that all that have been accused in this case will certainly face the long arm of the law?
Certainly, it might very well maybe improve or enhance the chances, but we've seen how ineptitude the NPA is. In fact, the Department of Justice has been, and that much has been exposed with their efforts to extradite the affected individuals from Dubai relating to this and other matters. It does not, like I said when I started, it is not yet uhuru, because there's still a lot that still hinges on the successful prosecution of this matter. I'm not sure if some of all the individuals that were charged in this matter are still around. It might very well be that some of them are back in Dubai. And how long it's going to take, if at all, any success? NPA or the Department of Justice hasn't shown any success in extraditing matters, in extradition matters relating to state capture. We've just seen recently with what happened with Murwadi Cholota with regards to the asbestos matter. So I would really caution against a celebratory stature such as the one projected by Mthunzi and the NPA. And it is not a given that these people will appear before court in all account, and also if the matter will successfully be tested before a competent court of law. So we are just raising, the NPA seems to be raising hopes that indeed it has won, when we know that the road is still long and arduous, and it will not be in the next 2 years, at least as far as I'm concerned, that this matter is settled, if indeed it does go ahead through prosecution.
All right, Tebogo Khaas, thank you so much for your time and for giving us your reaction this evening. That's the Public Interest SA CEO, Tebogo Khaas, speaking to us. They're saying it's too early for the NPA to celebrate. They first need to get their ducks in a row, and it certainly is going to be a very long road ahead.